You were supposed to be recording. Okay, well, it's recording now, whatever. But in any case, and I like it to sound like it's all happy, you know, when it's Tony's place, so that's why it's not. Okay. So now it's a matter of putting all those numbers in. So in other words, into your calculator, you must put 4 pi squared over 6.67 times 10 to the minus 11 power times a cubed. So you put in 3 times 10 to the 8th and cube it, divided by p squared. So you divide by 604,800 squared equals something. I don't know, something, you know, some number of kilograms when you put all that in. And as I mentioned before, get into the habit of, and I don't know, I feel like teachers aren't telling people this, like in high school or whatever. If you want to enter a number like 3 times 10 to the 8th power, do not key in 3 times 10 caret 8. Because your calculator won't treat that all as one single number if you try to do something like cube it. Like if I do something like that, it's not going to work. What you should do is enter it as 3e8, because e to your calculator means times 10 to the power of, and the way you get that e, different calculators are different. Some of them have a button labeled EXP, like this one right here. There's a button right there, EXP. So if I hit 3 EXP 8, that makes 3 times 10 to the 8th power. Your calculator instead might have an EE button, and often, like on these TI calculators, you have to hit second function, and then whatever key has a little EE above it, you hit that in order to make the E there. So you key in like 3, second function, whatever key has a little EE above it, 8. And that'll give you 3 times 10 to the 8th power. Yes?
Can we expect more of these type of problems on the exam than like these other type, like the where you're trying to find a cube?
It could be any of them. And I mean, I'm not going to, you know, it's not going to be like 16 problems like that. In other words, you know, that's not going to dominate the exam. You know, I'm not like, you know, that cool or whatever, or that nice, depending on your perspective. There'd be 1 or 2 problems as opposed to a gazillion problems. Because it's kind of like, okay, see if they can do it, but not make them cry if they can't. I will have calculators up here for $1 that will go to the Perkins Observatory. It's best to have your own calculator because then you can get familiar with it.
Okay.
Yes, question?
She has her own problems, but what do we have to know? Like, do we have to know, like, in perspective of like finding the perihelion and the
The perihelion and the aphelion?
Yeah, like using those equations you gave us on that one quiz.
Yeah, I don't care about those. No. Yeah. There's one where you find the perihelion distance is a times 1 minus e, and the aphelion distance is a times 1 plus e. Yeah.
And then the eccentricity, like the equals, like
the eccentricity there. I want you to understand that the eccentricity tells you kind of how squishy the ellipse is, but
you won't have to solve for it.
You won't have to solve for it, no. And you know, burn it into your brain. Does the mass of the planet matter in terms of finding its orbital period? No. Does the eccentricity of the orbit matter in terms of finding the orbital period? The formula says p squared equals a cubed. Are there any e's in that formula?
No.
No. So does e matter?
No.
No. If it mattered, it would be in the formula. It ain't in the formula, therefore it ain't mattering. Yes.
So when we do the math, do you expect the answer to be like right on, or when you like give like for rounding difference?
Well, I mean, you know, if I get 3.77 times 10 to the 23rd kilograms, and you get 3.76 times 10 to the 23rd kilograms, that's probably just a little rounding error. If you got 2.44 times 10 to the 23rd kilograms, then you screwed up somewhere. I will say, show as much work as you can so that you get partial credit, right? In other words, if the only thing that went wrong is your final key in, you know, you had a cubed right, you had t squared right, everything was great, and then you screwed up when you put the numbers in at the end, you'll get most of the credit. So yeah, when in doubt, show work. Yes?
The more eccentric it is, it's closer to 1.0.
Yeah, the more eccentric, the higher the eccentricity, the closer to 1.0. For a circle, the eccentricity is 0. Yeah. Yes?
I don't know how to find the cube on my calculator.
Yeah, that's going to depend on your calculator. You might have a calculator a lot of people have. Some of them actually have a cube root button, in which case you have hit the jackpot. Let's see. Right, yeah, you do not, but on the other hand, it's not so bad. If you don't have a cube root button, like what if I want the cube root of 8? What I do is I raise it to the power of 1/3. Yeah, right, yeah. So if your calculator doesn't have a cube root button, it's the same thing to raise to the 1/3 power. So you can do like caret, parentheses, 1 divided by 3, or even caret, 3 equals, that works perfectly well. Yes?
What's the format of the exam? Is it going to be more heavily multiple choice?
There's going to be, it's actually, it's fairly well distributed. So there's going to be like 20-ish multiple guess questions, and then a series of questions similar to things in here. That'll be like short answer type stuff, because these are like short answer questions. There will be a few essay questions and a problem or two. That's what it comes down to. So in other words, something along the lines of describe the analogy between the role that a string plays in keeping a ball moving in a circle and what keeps the moon moving in a yearly circuit orbit around the Earth. You know,
So like
that's
words.
that kind of thing. What's that?
So like words.
Yeah, words. Right. Yes, words. Yes. Right. Yep. Yeah, essay as in a little bit longer than short answer, you know, like a paragraph as opposed to a sentence or two.
What? I don't know.
So I'll make sure that you
Yes. Yeah. When you provided your job, know what they need.
does only take a few hours, or will it be?
It'll be we'll do that. I mean, it's like anything else. You know, somebody's going to walk out after half an hour, and other people are going to be like, I'm trying to rip it out of their heads again. But most people will find it takes most of the hour. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Sure. What kind of calculator do you have? Since this one's, you got it. Yeah, okay, that one's no better. Sure. But I think I'll do it in a fancier way, which is to use all mathematics on this computer. So that I've got later cases.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I think it's starting out somehow.
Alright. Who wants other stuff? God, studies himself. Shit. Learn about people.
Oh my
Oh, did I slap you?
I don't know, like, why not? But then, like, in the other show, we both had to
I would
be so
love
bad. And we have to be alone, so it's like a smaller view.
Yeah.
We can't just walk on stage because I'm like, yeah, it was the same way, like, for sure. So we just, like, walk on stage.
What's that?
Will there be questions for the audience?
Yeah, no, it's really that's not really brand new, you know, that's like, all right, and I remember sitting up like, you know,
But
one thing
most
they
of
did,
them.
I think it's water, like, you know, like, yeah.
Four 4.368 times 10 to the 25th power.
Wait, what is it? I got it to the 14th power.
Yeah, so that's gonna be you missed the power of 10 somewhere.
Wait, what was it?
Yeah, right. That's usually something simple, you know.
And
that-
then I wrote it all down.
Mhm. Right. So careful here in that you don't want to write that as to the 14th power. Yeah, so times 10 to the 14th power. Even if your calculator writes that, that's not what your
Less
calculator.
complicated now.
Yeah.
Right. And so you same here, times 10 to the 15th power. Right.
Yeah, you know, like.
Yeah,
And
so.
if you like multiple numbers, always say
Like,
something.
I understand.
Right.
For sure.
Yeah, well, again, you get most of the credit. You show them all the steps along the way. And if you wrote what I did right there, that it's 4 pi squared times 3 times 10 to the 8th cubed, if you wrote that,
Yeah.
and then all you did is you keyed it in wrong, you'll get most of the credit for showing that you knew what you needed to calculate, even if it, you know.
Oh, actually,
Basically.
I think one thing that I might be doing wrong, so when I need to put in, first of all, when I do, like, I've been doing pi squared and then times 4,
That's okay.
and
Yeah,
so
that's
that's what
right.
that should be,
Yep.
okay?
Yep.
And then to put in the symbol, because maybe the E button will help, so we do the times 10.
Yeah, see, that'll, right, if you definitely want to use the E button. You'll almost always mess up if you try to do times 10 to the power up. See, because the problem is that if you enter, you know, what if I want to calculate 1 over 3 times 10 to the 8th power for some reason? If I want to do that. If you tell your calculator to do this, 1 divided by 3E8, it will do it correctly. But if you ask your calculator to do 1 divided by 3 times 10 to the 8th power, what it actually calculates is 1 divided by 3 times 10 to the 8th power.
I mean, I've been putting them in parentheses.
Parentheses, right,
But
but
sometimes I feel like I
it's
forget
easy to mess that up,
the-
is the problem, right? It's easy to mess up your parentheses when you do
Okay.
something like that, yeah. Yeah, so that's supposed to work out to be 4.37 times 10 to the 25th power kilograms. in that case.
We'll go back and.
Yeah, 4 times 10 to the 25th.
Oh, okay,
yeah.
I got 25th. 25th?
Yeah, 25th is the exponent, so,
I got it to the 14th.
yeah.
I have an answer, I'm not sure how you wanted us to do rounding for
Oh, I'm not gonna be that picky as long as you keep it like 2 places after the
Okay.
decimal point, yeah.
I didn't know. It's
Yeah, I'm not gonna get worried here about, oh, you didn't use the right number of 60s. I'm not, yeah, it's just, if this were a physics class, I'd be more like, you know,
Right,
60.
that
right.
is okay.
Okay.
How did you do it?
Thank you.
Mhm.
They're 28. I'll put 4 or 2 parentheses in to start it. Like 1 around this whole thing, and 1 around this one right there. Okay. That might be where I messed up. That might be where I messed up. And then we'll start parentheses again. Okay. parentheses. Yep. Times. Parentheses.
And actually, you can actually kind of, after you're done with that, I'll show you what you do. I mean, you actually don't need any parentheses at all for this.
Really?
Yeah.
I feel safe.
Right, I know what you mean. Yeah, there's kind of a when in doubt parenthesize. Problem, of course, is where you might mess up the parentheses. But, you know. But if you just got a bunch of numbers on top multiplied together divided by a bunch of numbers on the bottom multiplied
Okay,
together,
it said
it always works to just go this one times this one times this one all across the top, divided by the bottom, divided by the first bottom one, divided by the second bottom one, and so forth. So, like, you can do this to do this calculation. Here. Okay, I just want to start from scratch. I'm going to do 4 pi squared. So you'll 4, and then there's the pi squared. Okay. All right, and then you're going to do times 3 times 10 to the 8th cubed, right? So I'm going to say times 3 second to the 8th cubed.
Oh, I was using that.
Oh, no, it's the EE.
That's why I
That
was
is the base of the
thinking
natural logarithms.
Okay,
That's not
well,
what
that's gonna do that.
and then you can say divide 6.67 second EE, and then you need the minus sign there, not the subtract button.
Yeah, and then,
But-
yeah.
Yeah, minus 11. And then, since it's on the bottom again, I can just divide again by 604,800 squared. So 604,800 squared. And then enter, and voila. It's much easier, no parentheses needed. It's always true, if you got a bunch of things on the top divided by a bunch of things on the bottom, you can always do it as first top things times second top thing times third top thing divided by first bottom thing divided by second bottom thing, and so forth. And if you use the E notation, you don't need any parentheses. If you don't use the E notation, you need parentheses. But use the E notation, you don't need parentheses or something like that.
I like
If you had things added together, that would screw that up. You need parentheses, but we don't here. It's all just times and divided. So.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Tomorrow. Maybe tonight, if you're coming to the observing session.
I gotta study.
I know, it's like, it's not enough to have an observing session, but it's the only one that would work for me, and some people might be like, what are you going to do? I gotta do something else, you know, so. Yes.
Are there going to be a lot of those? Because I didn't go to the first one either, but like, are there going to be like several?
I'm gonna try to have one roughly every week, yeah, you need to go to 2, so.
Yeah, that's what I was worried
Right,
about.
so it's not time for panic mode at this point. you know.
Okay,
Right.
that's what I was worried
Yeah,
about.
right.
I really enjoyed them last year because I took the stronger one head.
Uh-huh.
And I really like them.
Yeah, those are fun, I think, yeah.
Modern year. I feel so